Well, throughout the summer period, I've been arguing for a no test, no fly rule for overseas returning travellers. Not before Christmas. We need to do as much as we possibly could to get as many back for the Christmas period. But for every passenger now that we accept, there is a risk that the virus will escape hotel quarantine and get into the community. And we've seen the damage recent outbreaks from those sources have caused to our economy. KPMG estimates the Northern Beaches lockdown, well, for instance, it emanated from an overseas strain. We know that. It delivered a $3.2 billion whack to New South Wales finances. The Barella outbreak, again in Sydney southwest, has been tracked back to a worker who picked up the virus while transporting a returning airline crew to hotel quarantine. So it's been obvious to me that we can reduce the risk of these clusters by ensuring that travellers produce evidence of a negative COVID test before flying to Australia. And guess who's come on board with that? WA Premier Mark McGowan. Now, I don't know whether he watches Sky News. He said he doesn't, and he doesn't know me, or he could be a bit smart after all. McGowan is calling for returning travellers to prove they're tested negative before boarding a plane. Hooray! I'd go one step further. As we see the rollout of vaccines, all returning travellers should be forced to show a certificate proving they've had a jab. But that's for down the track, and it was something conceived by Alan Joyce from Qantas. But having a no test, no fly rule is not a foolproof plan. But none of what we do is a foolproof plan, but it will minimise the existence of the virus in hotel quarantine, and therefore it will minimise the risk of the virus leaking from these hotels. The economy can't afford to go into another nationwide lockdown, even another district or regional lockdown. It's got to be out of the question. Of course, it's still a bit rich for Mark McGowan to lecture others about what to do. What did he say recently? New South Wales shouldn't be viewed as the gold standard. They only think of themselves. They're not infallible. They need to wake up to themselves. This is from the same pompous prat who for so long refused to do his share and take WA returning travellers into Perth hotels. New South Wales took most of his residents for most of the pandemic. In fact, the state has looked after 105,000 returning travellers since March. WA, 22,000. But on this score, he's right, and credit where it's due. It won't solve future outbreaks, but what a tool it would provide in greatly reducing those leakages and future clusters. As I mentioned at the start of the show, the PM has tonight convened a meeting of National Cabinet for this Friday to discuss making the process of returning overseas travellers to Australia and hotel quarantine safer. I'm hoping that, given the intervention of Mark McGowan, this will include the concept of travellers providing evidence of a recent negative test before they depart for Australia. So, Prime Minister, over to you.